In a small African village nestled at the edge of the savannah, a young woman named Zuri stood at a crossroads between the past and the future. The village was known for its rich traditions, rituals passed down through generations that defined every aspect of life. Zuri, however, felt that the weight of these traditions was suffocating her. While her heart longed for something more, the chains of expectations seemed impossible to break. Zuri's mother, Mama Titi, was a respected elder in the community. Deeply rooted in the old ways, she was proud of her daughter, but her pride was tied to one unshakable belief: Zuri would follow in her footsteps. The time for marriage had come, and Mama Titi had already chosen a suitor for her daughter as tradition dictated. To defy this would be to dishonor their ancestors. One evening, the village gathered around the central fire pit for a celebration. As the drum beats rolled and the villagers danced, Zuri couldn't help but feel like an outsider in her own home. She watched as Mama Titi spoke with the elders about her upcoming marriage, her voice filled with pride and certainty. But Zuri's heart was heavy, burdened by the question of what would become of her dreams. After the gathering, Zuri sought solace in her favorite spot, a small hill just outside the village. As the sun began to set, painting the sky in deep oranges and purples, Zuri knelt in the quiet of the evening and lifted her voice in prayer. "God, I feel lost," she whispered. "My heart wants to follow you, to break free and find my own way. But I fear what might happen if I go against our traditions. Please show me the path." She prayed with all her might, asking for the courage to walk the road that lay ahead, even if it meant leaving behind everything she knew. The next day, the village elders called for a council, and Zuri was summoned to face them. The elders, stern and unyielding, sat in a circle, their faces shadowed by the dim torchlight. They had heard of Zuri's growing desire to break from traditions. The air was thick with tensions as she stepped into the circle. "Zuri," Elder Moses said, his voice heavy, "you are the daughter of our people. Your future has already been set for you. You must honor our customs as your ancestors did before you." Zuri's heart raced, but she stood firm. "I respect our traditions, but I cannot live a life that doesn't belong to me. My heart is not in the path you've chosen for me." The elders exchanged knowing glances. Mama Titi, who had followed her daughter into the council, looked on with a mixture of fear and sadness. Ezekiel, a young elder who had always seen the world with a more open heart, stood up and spoke. "There is wisdom in the old ways, but there is also wisdom in change. Tradition should not be a cage. Zuri is not rejecting our past. She is seeking to live fully, to fulfill the calling God has placed on her life." The room fell silent. Zuri's eyes met with Mama Titi's, and for a moment she saw the pain in her mother's eye. But Zuri knew deep down that she had to walk her own path. "I will not choose the life you set for me," Zuri said, her voice steady, "but I promise I will carry the values of our people in my heart. I will honor our ancestors by staying true to myself and seeking the purpose God has given me." Mama Titi, though heartbroken, finally spoke. If this is truly what you believe, then I will support you. I want you to be happy, Zuri, but I fear you may be walking into the unknown. With Mama Titi's blessing, Zuri felt a sense of peace wash over her. She knew her journey would not be easy, but she was no longer afraid. The next morning, as the first ray of sunlight bathed the village, Zuri stood at the center of the village square. The elders, the villagers, and her mother were gathered around. Zuri's heart raced, but she knew this was the moment of her breakthrough. People of the village, Zuri began, her voice carrying her across the gathering. I stand before you today, not to break away from our traditions, but to seek a new path. A path that will allow me to live the life God has called me to. I ask for your blessing, and I promise to return with the wisdom and knowledge I gained to help this community grow. The villagers murmured amongst themselves, unsure of what to make of Zuri's declaration. But Mama Titi, tears in her eyes, stepped forward and embraced her daughter. I may not fully understand, but I trust you, she said softly. Go, my daughter, follow your heart. Zuri felt a wave of relief wash over her as she turned to leave, her heart filled with hope for the journey ahead. She wasn't sure where the road would lead, but she knew it was the path she was meant to walk. Ezekiel joined her as she left the village, walking beside her in quiet support. The savannah stretched before them, vast and unknown, but Zuri's steps were sure. She was ready for the challenges that lay ahead, challenges of faith, growth, and the courage to create a new future. And as she looked back one last time, she knew that her journey was not just for her, but for the generations to come. She would be the change her village needed, breaking the chains of the tradition and stepping into the freedom of a new dawn.